So before I start drafting my front pattern, I'm going to mark 6 inches at the top and 6 inches from the side. This is to accommodate our lapel and collar. So you can make yours up to 7 inches or even 8 inches so you have enough room to work with. So I'll connect that line and then start marking my measurement. So I'll mark my shoulder measurement divided by 2 and I'll add 1 inch because I want this shirt to be free. So after doing that, I'm going to mark my neckline. This is the front neckline and I'll be using the standard 3 inches width by 3 inches depth. So once I mark that, I'm just going to connect it. So what I'm trying to do here is to mark my basic bodice pattern just with a little changes. So I'm going to be rushing this part because the main focus of this tutorial is on the collar. So I'll go ahead now and mark my vertical body measurements, mark my bust point, mark my waist point, and draft my armhole. So I'll be rushing this a bit because, like I said, the focus is on the collar. So I'll mark my round measurements now divided by 4 and I'll add 1 inch. Please note this 1 inch is not the sewing allowance. This is to give room so that the shirt is free. So when I'm cutting out, I'll still add another 1 inch for my sewing allowance. So this is me drafting the armhole, going in by 1/2 inch to connect that to my bust measurement divided by 4. Please make sure you like this video if you are enjoying this content. It really means a lot to me. So now after doing that, I'll mark my bust measurement divided by 4. Then my waist measurement divided by 4, and I'll add 1 inch to all these measurements because I want the shirt to be free. So I'll add 1 inch to all the measurements, then I'll connect it like this. So that is all about the drafting. Now to the collar. The first thing I'm going to do is to mark 1 inch for my button. So this 1 inch, I'll be marking it straight down. This is where my button is going to sit. So this is important. You mark 1 inch or at most 1.5 inches. So I'll connect that and extend the neckline. Then the next thing I need to do is to decide where I want the breakpoint to be. So I choose mine to be at the chest line. So from that point, I'm going to connect it to the top. But before I do that, I'll mark about 0.3 inches and extend that line where I want my breakpoint to be and then connect it. Just look at what I'm doing and you're going to understand. So I'm going to connect to that 0.3 inches I took out at the neckline. Like that. As you can see, there's a little space between the line and the neck, the round neckline. So I'm going to mark this, highlight this with my marker so that the collar would be having a different color. So it's very important to take out that 0.3 inches so that your collar sits well. Now I'm going to extend from the neckline area with 2.5 inches. So 2.5 inches is just fine for a shirt lapel. So I'll mark my 2.5 inches. I'll extend the neckline to that 2.5 inches. And at that 2.5 inches point, I'll connect it to that marker, that line I have there. And this will serve as the lapel area. So we have successfully drafted out the lapel. The next thing we are going to do is to highlight the lines so that it is bold enough So I'll also highlight this neckline by using my marker to do this. Now, after doing this, we'll go ahead and draft the color of this shirt. So to draft the color of this shirt, I'm going to use my back pattern. I'm going to take my neckline measurements. So I'll be taking the neckline measurement, exempting the 1/2 inch seam allowance at the top. So I'll place my tape like this, bend it, or I'll place it on it so that it is accurate. And whatever I have there, I'm going to mark it on my pattern. So the back pattern is the same, almost the same, apart from the neckline, which is 1 inch depth, and I added 1 inch also for ease on the pattern. So you can see I have 10 inches just like the front. So when I'm cutting, I'm also going to add 1 inch for sewing allowance. So whatever figure I got at the neck area, I'm just going to extend it from that line going upwards. So I'll extend that figure I got up like that, and that serves as the neckline area. So I'll also take out 0.3 inches towards the right. Just look at what I'm doing. These inches I am taking out helps our collar to sit, relax properly, because it goes round to the back of the dress. I'll also highlight this by using my marker. And now the next thing I need to do is to draft the collar, how wide I want it to be. So 3.5 inches is just fine for a standard shirt. So you need to look closely and observe how I'll be taking this measurement. You must not place your tape like this. It's wrong to place your tape like that. You need to take your tape up like this, like an angle. Yeah, like this. So that's the reason why you need enough space in the beginning, where I said you can make your allowance on the paper up to 7 or even 8 inches. So now we need to draft our notch, the collar. That's that notch we have on the shirt. So you can play around with this. I'm taking 1/2 inch above there. Then I'm going in by 1 inch, and I want to connect that together. So you can decide that you want yours to look like this. If this is fine for you, then you can go ahead. It depends on how deep you want your notch to be. But in my own case, I'm going to go in again and make it to be on the line where I have my button allowance. So I'll extend my notch to go in. So first, I'm just going to connect this one I did. The first one I just like this. So you can see it's already giving that look. But in my own case, I'm going to take it inside like this, and then I'll connect it. And this is how mine is going to look. So you can play around with this, depends on how you want your notch to look. Then I will connect it to the collar like that. Then after doing that, I'll highlight it as usual so that we can really look and see what the collar is looking like. So with this, our collar is ready, and it is so simple. I'm going to label that center back collar, and that is going to be on a fold when I cut. So it is really easy to draft this pattern. In fact, you too can try this. It is not difficult at all. So take note and look at what I'm cutting out. At that point, I'm going to curve like that to cut out the lapel area. Then I'll go ahead and cut out the collar. The collar is going to be cut out on its own. So take note of what I'm doing. I'm going to take the shoulder slope. So I forgot to put allowance on the shoulder area. So while I'm cutting, I'm going to add 1/2 inch above the shoulder slope. So I'm going to cut out the collar now. So just look closely and observe what I'm cutting out and what I am not cutting out. So this collar is going to be cut on a fold. And I'm just going to write that now so that I'll remember. And this is what the pattern is looking like. It is already giving the shirt illusion. So now this is the shirt. I've cut it out and you can see the back piece has allowance at the top shoulder area, and the center is on a fold because the back will be closed. And I added 1 inch for sewing allowance that I talked about. Then I also added some inches at the bottom because I wanted the shirt longer. So now for the collar is cut on a fold. The collar is cut on a fold and you need 2 pieces of the collar because one will serve as the lining. So I also added 1/2 inch all the way around because we'll be attaching it to the bodice. So after that, that's all for the collar. And then the front piece of the dress is not cut on a fold, and there's half of an inch added at the lapel area and the shoulder area. I also added 1 inch at the side for sewing. And now for the lining of the front piece, I'm going to cut out mark 3 inches from the shoulder area, and then I'll go down, and from the center I'm going to mark 2 inches. I'll mark 2 inches to the bottom part of the shirt. Then I'm going to connect the point I have made. So this is going to serve as my lining for the front of the shirt. So connect it like that, and then I'll place it on my fabric and cut it out. So guys, this is what it's looking like after cutting it out on my fabric, and these are my pieces I'll be using to make my shirt. So if you follow the steps, and this is what you're going to get, and it's really easy to draft, and that is all about the pattern drafting. Guys, thank you so much. Make sure you mark where the lapel starts from and give it a tiny notch. Also mark where the lapel ends and give it a tiny notch. All these marks are going to help you when you are sewing your shirt. So this brings us to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and if you are yet to subscribe, please don't forget to subscribe. Bye.